Cowboys Nation, we need to talk about something that's been haunting Dallas for 3 straight years, and it's finally time to address the elephant in the room. The front office thinks they've cracked the code, but are we really about to see this running back situation finally get solved, or are we headed for another year of frustration? Hit that subscribe button right now and smash the notification bell because we're breaking down everything you need to know about the Cowboys backfield heading into next season. And trust me, you don't want to miss this. All right, let me hit you with a stat that's absolutely mind-blowing and not in a good way. Picture this, 25 teams, 25 different franchises across the National Football League had multiple running backs eclipse 300 rushing yards last season, multiple guys on the same roster, both going over 300 yards. That's basic depth, right? That's what you expect from a complete offensive attack. Well, guess who wasn't on that list? Your Dallas Cowboys. That's right. America's team couldn't get 2 rushers over that 300-yard threshold, and honestly, that's embarrassing for an organization with Super Bowl aspirations. But here's where it gets even crazier. You want to know the last time the Cowboys actually had 2 running backs both surpass 400 yards in a single season? We're talking about going all the way back to 2022. Think about that for a second. 3 consecutive seasons where the running back room has been essentially a one-man show, and that's a massive problem in today's NFL where committees and fresh legs are absolutely essential to success. So the billion-dollar question everyone in Dallas is asking right now is this: has the front office been playing chess while everyone else thinks they're playing checkers? Did their patience and development approach with these young backs actually position them for a breakthrough, or are we about to watch this same movie for a 4th straight year? The organization seems convinced they've got the pieces in place. You know, the coaching staff is talking with confidence. But we've heard this song before, haven't we, Cowboys fans? Let's dive deep into this backfield situation and figure out if Dallas finally has the answer, or if we're headed for more of the same frustration that's plagued this team. Now, before we get into the depth pieces, we need to understand what the modern NFL running game actually looks like. This isn't the 1990s anymore, where you hand the ball to Emmitt Smith 30 times a game and ride him to glory. The league has evolved. Teams that are winning and controlling games on the ground typically feature multiple weapons in the backfield unless you've got one of those generational talents that can carry the entire load. And even those elite backs, the Derrick Henrys and Nick Chubbs of the world, they've got quality depth behind them to keep them fresh and explosive. Look at what happened with Javonte Williams last season as the perfect example. The dude came out absolutely scorching hot through the first half of the year, touchdowns piling up, yards after contact. He was a legitimate top 3 fantasy running back for a stretch there. But then reality set in. The workload started taking its toll. From week 10 all the way through week 18, his yards per carry dropped by almost a full yard. His efficiency tanked. His touchdown production fell off a cliff. And then the inevitable happened. He got banged up because the human body can only take so much punishment. That's exactly why having a legitimate running back too isn't just nice to have. It's absolutely critical if Dallas wants to compete for a championship. The good news, and I mean potentially great news, is that this running back room actually has some legitimate intrigue heading into training camp. There's talent in there. There's potential. The question is whether that potential can actually translate into game day production that complements Javonte Williams and keeps him fresh for January football. Let's start breaking down these guys one by one because each one brings something different to the table. First up, we've got Malik Davis, and I think he's one of those guys that doesn't get enough credit for what he brings to this organization. Now, is Malik going to blow you away on highlight reels? Absolutely not. Is he going to make the Pro Bowl? Come on, let's be realistic. But here's what Malik Davis is. He's a solid, dependable veteran presence who knows this offense inside and out. And when his number gets called, he doesn't hurt you. When you watch him on film, you see a runner with really good short area burst and solid vision. His hips are fluid. He can make guys miss in tight spaces. I'd describe his running style as cautious but calculated. He's not going to capture the edge with blazing speed, but he's got enough wiggle and burst to squeeze through creases and pop off chunk gains downhill. The limitation with Malik is pretty obvious when you look at his frame. He's not built like a traditional power back. He's not 6'1", 230 pounds of muscle, ready to run through linebackers. He doesn't have that elite physical trait that separates the good from the great in this league. But you know what? Every single roster needs steady Eddie type players, guys who might not wow you with athleticism, but who you can absolutely count on when the starter goes down or needs a breather. Malik Davis is that guy for Dallas, and whether he makes the 53-man roster or spends time on the practice squad, having him in the building adds value to this backfield. Now let's talk about someone with a completely different skill set. Phil Maffa. This kid is a 6'1", 230-pound freight train, and that size is exactly what this offense could use to complement Javonte Javonte Williams. Maffa was drafted in the 7th round last year, so the expectations weren't sky high, but the physical tools are absolutely there. His game is built for live action with pads popping and real tackles happening. That's why OTAs and non-contact practices don't really showcase what he can do. The Cowboys knew they needed to see him in preseason action to properly evaluate him, but here's the problem. He only got 24 snaps in the preseason before suffering a shoulder injury that ended his summer. But apparently those 24 snaps were enough for the coaching staff to see something special because they stashed him on injured reserve for the entire season to let him develop and heal up. Then late in the year against the Giants, he finally got some run, and he showed out with that touchdown and some really physical reps. When you study his film, what jumps out is the violent burst he plays with for a big man. He's heavy behind his pads, finishes runs with authority, and he's got legitimate wiggle for someone his size. Here's why we should all be rooting for Phil Maffa to not just make this roster, but earn real playing time. Javonte Williams is a bruising runner who takes on a ton of contact. That style of play wears down your body over 16, 17 games. Having Maffa as a guy who can come in and deliver that same power and physicality keeps Javonte fresh and gives defensive coordinators another problem to solve. Joe Hoyt, who covers the Cowboys and is around the facility regularly, said the coaching staff is really high on Maffa. They loved what they saw in preseason before the injury, and they view him as someone who can run downhill and finish like a James Conner type back. So if that's the ceiling we're talking about, that's a legitimate weapon for this offense. But here's where things get really interesting. Jaydon Blue, this is the wild card, the lightning to Javonte Williams' thunder. With Blue, it's never been a question of talent or physical ability. The kid has elite juice, game-breaking agility, and legitimate home run speed. He can take it to the house anytime he touches the football. The question with Jaydon Blue has always been about what's between the ears. Can he learn the playbook? Can he pick up pass protections? Can he be consistent on the stuff that doesn't show up on SportsCenter? In the NFL, you can't just be a guy who hits a home run once every 10 carries. You've got to be able to grind out the 4-yard gains, hit the right gaps, be in the right place at the right time. That's been the hurdle for Blue, and it's why he struggled to get on the field as a rookie last year. The buzz around OTAs has been that he's maturing as a professional. Multiple reports indicate he's taking the mental side of the game more seriously. Joe Hoyt literally walked into the locker room, and the first thing he saw was Jaydon Blue studying his playbook, locked in, trying to learn the nuances of the offense. Is that one moment definitive proof he's turned the corner? Of course not. But when you combine that with the comments from coaches about his professionalism improving and his own self-awareness about where he needs to grow, it paints a picture of a young player ready to take that second-year leap. If Blue can put it all together, and that's still an if, then Dallas suddenly has a legitimate thunder and lightning combo that they haven't had since 2022 with Zeke and Tony Pollard, except this version could be even better because Javonte Williams is in his prime right now, not on the downside of his career, and Blue has fresher legs and potentially more explosiveness than Pollard ever had. Which brings us to the centerpiece of this entire operation, Javonte Williams. The Cowboys made a statement when they signed this man to a 3-year deal because it showed they believe he's the real deal as a franchise running back, and honestly, everything we saw last year backs that up. Williams fits Brian Schottenheimer's offensive scheme like a glove. He's tough between the tackles, he's an underrated and honestly elite pass protector, which Dak Prescott absolutely raves about. Dak has compared Javonte's football IQ to having another quarterback on the field because he sees plays developing before they happen and makes the right adjustments. He's a tone setter for this entire offense. The offensive line loves blocking for him because he runs with that physical downhill style that rewards their effort. He's a weapon in the red zone and at the goal line where Dallas has struggled in recent years. The coaching staff trusts him completely. When you've got legitimate weapons like CeeDee Lamb on one side and now George Pickens on the other side stretching the field vertically, defenses have to respect the perimeter. That's where a back like Javonte Williams becomes even more valuable because he can punish the middle of the defense when they're worried about the big plays outside. Schottenheimer specifically talked about using Javonte to beat up the inside of the defense while Pickens and Lamb create one-on-one opportunities outside. That's a beautiful offensive philosophy, but it only works if Williams stays healthy and effective all season long, which is exactly why the development of these other backs matters so much. Here's the reality that Cowboys fans need to accept. This team is betting on internal development and patience rather than going out and spending big money on a veteran backup running back. That approach can absolutely work if guys like Jaydon Blue Blue take that next step in year 2, if Phil Maffa proves he's ready for a real role, and if Malik Davis continues being that steady veteran presence. If all those things happen, then suddenly you're not talking about a running back 2 problem anymore. You're talking about a legitimate committee where you can keep everyone fresh, attack defenses in different ways, and have Williams rolling into December and January with fresh legs and full health. Look at what Detroit did with their running back room, multiple guys contributing, staying fresh, creating matchup problems. Dallas doesn't need to be quite at that level, but the blueprint is there for how to build a dangerous backfield without one superstar carrying 30 touches a game. And the flip side is that if these young guys don't develop, if Blue doesn't figure out the mental side, if Maffa isn't ready for the physicality of a full NFL season, then we're looking at another year of Javonte Williams carrying way too much of the load and potentially breaking down late in the season, just like we saw last year. That's the nightmare scenario that keeps Cowboys fans up at night. 3 straight years of not solving the depth problem would be unacceptable for a franchise with championship expectations. So what's the verdict? Are the Cowboys finally about to cash in on their patience, or are we headed for more disappointment? I think there's legitimate reason for optimism here. The talent is in the room. The coaching staff believes in these guys. Williams is locked in as one of the better all-around backs in the league. If Blue makes that sophomore jump and Maffa earns real snaps, this backfield could surprise a lot of people. But it's all about execution now. No more excuses. No more waiting for potential to turn into production. This is the year we find out if Dallas actually fixed the problem or if they need to completely rethink their approach to building depth at the running back position. Cowboys Nation, drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you trust these young backs to step up, or does Dallas need to bring in a proven veteran? Are we finally about to see this running game reach its full potential with multiple weapons, or is this just more hope that's going to come crashing down? Let me know what you think, and make sure you're subscribed, because we're bringing you daily Cowboys content all offseason long as we build toward what could be a championship season. This is it, Cowboys fans. The pieces are in place. The talent is there. Now it's time to see if patience actually pays off or if we're stuck in the same cycle. Until next time, let's ride with this team and see what happens. Peace.